Hey folks, this is Caleb with the Dust Bowl Catholic, and this is my Catholic dollar. All right, with a title like that, I know your eyes just probably glazed over, but this is very important. This sets the base work and the foundation for everything we're going to do from here on out to get our finances in order and really be able to be the best Catholics we can be from a money perspective. Okay, so let's do a quick review. When we talked about last week and St Teresa of Avila's Interior Castle, let's look. As we talked about last week with St Teresa of Avila's Interior Castle, there are 7 mansions, which as we get closer to God, we progress from the smaller to the larger mansion and get and seeking a full unity with God. On the My Catholic Dollar side, we're going to use these 7 mansions to really talk about the 7 steps as we go forward. And of course, we start at mansion 1, the first mansion. On the Interior Castle, you enter through prayer. That's just a given. And the idea is that we are to expand our self-knowledge and humility and figure out where our weaknesses really lie. From the My Catholic Dollar standpoint, prayer equals success. Go back to the past weeks. Your homework has always been prayer. But we're going to humble ourselves, raise our hands, and say, I need help. And as a consequence, we're going to communicate with our spouse. We're also going to communicate with other people who are successful with money, and we're going to create a budget, which is what we're going to talk about this week. So, budgeting. A lot of people are going to say, I don't need a budget. I know how much I got coming in, I know how much I got going out. No big deal. I got this. Well, what does the Bible say about that? Let's look at this. Why do I need a budget? In the book of Luke, it says, for which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? So if Jesus said this, why would we think otherwise? Okay? And that is a quote from our Lord in the book of Luke. So as we move forward, it's just, it just makes sense. It gives you your roadmap to show where your money's going and why you don't have any money. So let's really dive into this, okay? Let's take a look. So where do you start? Ideally, you're going to look at your past 3 months' bank statements. If you don't have 3 months, just look at your past month. But pretty much every bank will allow you to get your bank statements online now. So you should be able to get a hold of 3 months. You want to use these to get an idea of how much you spend on food and utilities and quote unquote stuff. So you start to break out your spending into categories, whether it be church or housing, food, transportation, debts, and again, the stuff or the stuff you don't really need, your 5th trip to Starbucks, that pair of jeans when you already have 10 pairs in the closet. But you need to discern and what is a need versus what is a want. If you look at the Catechism, paragraph 2408, it defines essential needs as food, shelter, and clothing. So this is key. Need versus want. If you truly need something, there's no reason why you shouldn't spend money on it. But if you just want something, do you really need to spend that money that could go somewhere else to pay off a debt, to help somebody in need, to give to the church? I'm not saying, and again, we've covered this. John Paul II even said, it is okay to want to live better. But take each want and think about it for a while, especially if it's a big ticket item. If it's over $50 or $100, you may want to think about it overnight and say, do I really need that? Can I use this money somewhere else that's more beneficial to ourselves and others? It's part of being a good steward. But what does the Bible say about needs? Here we go. In the book of Sirach, a Catholic-only book, of course, the essentials of life are water and bread and clothing and a house to cover one's nakedness. So here we see that Catechism and the Bible are truly entwined. So a lot of people like to say, but I don't like math, but it's really not that hard. Take a look here. So all you really need is a simple calculator, if that. Most of these are going to be, easy addition and subtraction things. On the top line, you're going to put your net paycheck amount. And when we say net, we mean the amount that actually is deposited into your bank account. That's after taxes and insurance and all that good stuff. Then you're going to put down your first four, as I call them: church, food, housing, utilities. Okay? Then you're going to list all your bills due before the next paycheck under that. And then you're going to list any incidentals, say like birthday parties or, an upcoming luncheon you need to go to, or a gift for somebody that you need to get. And then you're going to subtract everything under your income from that paycheck amount and see if there's a surplus, or if you need to tweak it, if you've got a negative number there, okay? So here's the key. It's not hard. Income, first four. Bills, incidentals. And they go in that priority order, okay? You should always do your first four before you pay your bills, okay? That credit card, if you're having trouble paying everything, that credit card can wait. It takes months and years for a credit card company to really do anything to you, okay? But those first four are important: church, food, shelter, utilities, okay? You're not gonna pay a credit card and then let your kids go hungry. You're not gonna pay a credit card and then let your lights get shut off, okay? That's just not the way it works, all right? So in that order: first four, bills, incidentals. And incidentals are on the bottom of the list. If there's a birthday present that you're having to get for somebody, maybe you need to make the present instead of buy the present. There are plenty of low cost or no cost alternatives that you can find for things like that. That way you save face, you don't look bad in the end. And to a certain extent, a lot of people like things that are made because they showed someone actually cared to take the time to put into them. So let's look at a sample budget. And again, this is a simple sample budget, okay? Let's look. So here we have our net income. We'll say you get $2,000 a paycheck. That's after taxes and deposited in your bank account. Now, if you're a normal $60,000 a year household in America, you're getting about $2,000 per paycheck. Then you've got church. Now in this example I did 10%, but you're not obliged to do 10%, but that's a good place to always strive to be. Then you've got food, and you may not be able to eat out until all your debt is paid off. That food number right there is about the national average if you do some Google searching for a family of four. Then you've got housing. So half of the month's rent or mortgage. This assumes you're a 2 paycheck a month household, and that's half your rent. Don't try to pay all your rent or all your mortgage out of one paycheck. It makes it really hard to eat. So break it in half. Then you got your utilities: electric, water, natural gas, trash, phone, and internet. You'll notice that cable is not in that utility list. Now you've got your debts. Always keep your debts current before you go to incidentals, okay? We're talking credit cards, car payments, and any little thing that you owe people. Now you've got your incidentals that you can jump into and say a birthday present for a relative or something like that. In the end, you want the total to be zero. You have to give every dollar a purpose, because if it doesn't have a purpose, it will fly away. If you don't give every dollar a purpose, then those dollars will disappear, okay? So let's look at some ways that we can kind of make that budget meet. What if you get to the bottom and it's a negative number? Okay, let's look at some of that. First, Google is your friend. Find spreadsheets that can help. You can do this on paper, but I really think something like Excel or Google Sheets or something like that can make it a little easier, where you can use formulas and it'll do the math for you. A lot of places have free budget spreadsheets that are set up for you and will help you categorize as well. Keep track of your spending. Every spent dollar should be categorized and totaled. That way at the end of the month, you can go back and see what went wrong. Look at past months to set future spending targets. Don't just make a number up. You can Google and find some averages and things like that, but be sure to pull those old bank statements and take a look. Here's the biggest places to save money. Your cell phone bill. Do you really need all that data? If you've got Wi-Fi at home, you should have your phone set up, or at work, you should have your phone set up to attach to that Wi-Fi network, which is going to drastically reduce the amount of data needed. Also, if you stop streaming, say, movies, like off of Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, when you're not attached to Wi-Fi, that's going to make a huge difference as well. Cable, I've already kind of touched on this. Cable is never a need, all right? If you have debt, you should not have cable. The cheapest cable bill is around $60 a month. If you were to get both Netflix and Amazon Prime, you're only spending about $20 a month. Cable is never a need. And most cable bills are well over $100 a month, so you have no excuse. Weekday lunches, coffees, things like that, bring it from home. If you're able to get both a lunch and a coffee and a snack or something like that for only $10 a day, that's $50 a week. Over the course of a month, that's $200. You can bring all that from home for a very small fraction of that. So I know these are things that you're not gonna like, okay? Nobody likes to say, well, I'm on a budget, I'm not spending money. Nobody likes it. But the harder we work now, the better off in the end, and the quicker we get to our goal, okay? People might make fun of you. Oh, he's never going to a luncheon with the office. He never does this or that. But you got to remember, they're broke too, okay? They don't have any money. How many credit cards do they have? Do they wake up at night having trouble breathing or worried? Don't worry about what other people think about you. So we've covered things in brief. Obviously, we can't go way down in the weeds due to time constraints. But as you move forward with your budget, start simple. Just like the simple sample that we gave you. Okay, start simple and then get more detailed as you go. And as you get more comfortable with it, you're going to be able to find ways to track your spending easier. You're going to be able to find ways to eliminate more obstacles to getting your debt paid off and things of that nature. So just start simple and progress. Learn as you go. Let's look at this week's homework. So again, as always, prayer and the saints. Go back to St. Matthew, the patron saint of financial issues. You're still communicating. This is key. These are the 1-2 punch to get through this whole thing. Communicate with your spouse. Make sure you're on the same level. And make sure you do your budget together. What you think is a good budget for, say, food may not be realistic at all. If your spouse usually does the grocery shopping, you definitely need their input. Number 3, you're going to cut loose and create your budget. This is where the rubber meets the road. And remember, the first time is always the hardest. And you're not going to get it right. It never is absolutely right. But it will get easier as you go. I'm Caleb Foshee with the Dust Bowl Catholics My Catholic Dollar. Remember to subscribe, like, share with your friends, and put a comment below. Give us your tips for creating a budget and figuring out what's a need versus a want. We'll see you next week, and until that time, be not afraid.